that deep. They said, come on City, break us down if you can. To be fair, City did on countless occasions. The ball cleared off the line, a couple of good saves by Areola, 2 wonderful chances for Haaland, neither of which he's managed to take. And on the counter, Soufal's low cross, Ward-Prowse's far post header means at half-time at the London Stadium, it is West Ham 1, Manchester City 0. Well, let's go back to the studio and hear the thoughts in the studio alongside Natalie. We've got the likes of David James, who I'm sure will have an opinion on what we've just witnessed, alongside Keith Curle and Shaun Wright-Phillips.
Thank you so much to Alistair Mann there and Michael Brown for the first half commentary. So City are 1-0 down as it stands to West Ham. Still joined in the studio by David James, Keith Curle and Shaun Wright-Phillips. David, I think that first half in terms of what West Ham did is pretty much what we expected and predicted before the game. City with 63% of the possession, West Ham with 37%, which is about their average that they have in every game. What did you make of the first half?
Actually, it's the high percentage for West Ham, higher than I thought it would be. The way the game's gone, I mean, statistically, Manchester City have had more shots on target, loads more shots completely. As Alistair was saying there in commentary, you know, Areola's produced a couple of decent saves, but one mistake led to what was in the end a very good finish by James Ward-Prowse. But the game just, I don't know if you guys agree with me, the game was just not quite working. And it was always going to be, it seemed like something like that if it was going to go against them. And unfortunately, Doku's touch led to Soufal having that great ball in for James Ward. Dive header, Portsmouth fan. That's the only thing I can say that I enjoy about that.
Keith, like David James, statistically there, 64%, it went up there in the last second possession for City, 17 shots, 7 on target. We fairly dominated the first half, would you agree? But of course, the mistake led to the goal and we missed perhaps a few chances that we may have normally scored.
Yeah, I think the 2 standout ones are Haaland's 2 opportunities, one on his left foot, one on his right foot, that you'd say normal surface being resumed, you'd think, well, there wouldn't be any arguments from West Ham if they went in 2-1 down. The concern is, like I say, the ease of how it's their goal came about. Miscontrol led, great ball in, but then a midfield player running into the box virtually unmarked, which is disappointing. But you can understand, goals will come now. You can tell there's West Ham have got a line of retention. They're getting 9 men behind the ball, 9 outfield men behind the ball, and they're looking for that break. There's areas out wide to exploit and cause them problems. And also then, if you have a look at the runs of Foden and Alvarez, they're waiting and being patient, waiting for that time to go and exploit that space in behind.
Before we look at the positives, and there is plenty positive in the first half, Shaun, let's quickly talk about that West Ham goal. So it came from Jeremy Doku lost the ball. What did you make of what happened then?
For me, after, I think if you look at all the City wingers that's played in those positions, when they have lost the ball, their first point of call is to sprint or do anything to prevent, I say, a counter-attack, which when I was watching Doku run back, it didn't almost feel like he was sprinting, to the point where I thought he was a lot quicker than that. And towards the end, you see him sprint. Whereas if he does that initially, I think he can stop that counter-attack at source. Even if he gives a foul away, maybe get yellow, maybe not, but then it doesn't exist. But there's still a lot to do after that, and I think Soufal's cross that he picks out is a peach of it. He sees the open man and he puts in the perfect ball.
And as Keith mentions, having James Ward-Prowse, nobody was on him. That was a bit disappointing.
I think in respect of that, normally it's Jack there. You give the ball to Jack anyway, he doesn't lose the ball. He buys a foul. Doku's plays completely different. He plays, I would say, more in a way in respects on the front foot. So he's controlling the ball with the full process that to go forward. He's took his eye off the ball, it seems. It's hit him in his knee area and bounced off and set up the counter-attack. In that phase, Kyle Walker's obviously pushed up with the belief that Doku's going to maintain possession of that ball, so he's got nothing to worry about. As soon as that ball transitions, then the problem arises, and I think we very rare. It's not normal over the last year, apart from in pre-season, that we've been getting caught like that.
There was one interesting point, because I was looking at Kanji and whether he could have been in a slightly better position for Soufal's cross. I think, I can't remember if it was Antonio at the front with Diaz. There was a little bit of a collision. And if you're a Kanji as centre defender, you're probably thinking, I have to go and deal just in case my defender's out of position there, because Soufal could have let him in. So he got drawn towards the action in front of him. And then, as you say, the cross was perfect. Yeah. Ward-Prowse has loads of space. Had he been 3 or 4 yards further back, gets the clearance.
You know, where if you have a look at where Ward-Prowse was when there was a transition in possession, you would have thought that a holding midfield player would have been, Ward-Prowse would have ran onto a holding midfield player until he got taken off of him by a defender. But if you have a look where Ward-Prowse is, then he's level with the ball, makes a run to the far post, and is like unopposed.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because I think we're comfortable in possession, and I think we're looking for that next forward phase, which that's what he's trying to counter the counter-attack, because you don't. The way City are going to play and have been playing is that commitment of getting men forward to occupy the opposition. And again, it's a miscontrol. And being honest, I've miscontrolled 1 or 2 balls in my career.
Yeah, me too.
I was going to mention that, Johnny. I've seen a few of them.
I'm not putting my...
No, James was quiet over there.
He was using his hands all the time, wasn't
he? So in terms of positive for City, we've talked about the possession already. We were comfortable for large portions of the game as well. What are the kind of big positives that you're going to take from that first 45, David? Strangely,
everything is okay. Not saying it's fantastic, but I think it's okay in a positive way. I mean, lots of shots, more importantly, lots of shots on target. If Areola doesn't make those saves early on, then City get a very early lead. The fact that Haaland's had a couple of opportunities which on another day he would put in the back of the net means that he's getting into positions to score what in his world is very usually a simple goal. More of the same. You can't imagine, excuse me, that City will have another 45 minutes like that.
Yeah, there was a chance for Haaland near the start of the half at Keith where we all oohed and Doku played it to Guardiola over to Haaland, and then we all couldn't believe that he hadn't scored. But he's just, I guess, even he misses sometimes.
Yeah, I think he saw that one late, because I think he's anticipated the cross coming in, and there was bodies in between. I don't think he thought it was going to come through. Then it has come through, because I think me and Shaun said earlier on could have been a right foot finish, but I think he saw it late, and then he's just put his left foot on it, and then the second chance where on his right foot, you back him to score that.
Yeah. I guess everybody has a day when they miss a couple of chances, Shaun. But I guess for what we know of Erling Haaland, I'm going to be expecting him to come out in the second half even more determined now.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes him such a special player. I think him missing chances just drives him on to get in those positions and correct those chances that he's missing. So he'll be wanting to be in those same positions again to put the ball in the back of the net.
Any other positives for you from the first half, or what are you taking into the second half, still making you believe?
I'm a bit like J-Mo. I don't think we did much wrong. Everyone miscontrols the ball. So that can happen anywhere at any time. But for me, I would just like to see Doku do more of what he did to create the second chance for Haaland, because Soufal's scared of him. Mm-hmm. They keep trying to double up on him. So he's got to take advantage of those one-on-one situations.
What did you make of the positioning, David? Is it kind of what you expected up front, as we were sort of talking about Doku, Silva, Phil?
Well, I was actually thinking Doku might be on the right-hand side. I mean, it's an interesting point that Shaun makes there, because he was gaining confidence to take on Soufal, and then all of a sudden there's the miscontrol and a goal. If he's a strong character, he'll go, well, actually, I was getting better. That happens, and I will do what I was getting better at in the second half. So position-wise, I think things possibly say whether he changes him to the right-hand side, I don't know. Is he going to get much joy? But he's just starting to get on top of Soufal in those one-on-one situations, which is what City need. So I think it will stay the same.
Would you make any changes at half-time, Keith?
No, not in the minute. I think there's saw enough in the first 4 minutes. We're going to create chances, and again, I think West Ham will go deeper and deeper. And then the important thing is movement in front of the people that are in possession of the ball. The man on the ball needs options, and again, so we're always going to have the option of rolling the ball wide. But I think with Foden making his runs and Alvarez making those runs forwards, they will get opportunities to score.
Would you, in terms of the second half, I mean, we mentioned it, and we often mentioned it a few times about Pep not making changes when things are going okay. So would you be expecting to see any changes, or do you think that, we literally, it's patience at this point, which, we've seen a few times?
I think, like James and Keith said, we're making plenty of chances. We're hitting a target a lot. So do you want to disrupt that movement right now, especially early on in the second half? I think leave it and see how it pans out. But Keith's already said they're only going to get deeper, and you would suggest that the players that are creating and taking those players on in those situations are experienced enough to deal with it, especially right now.
So what are you predicting for the second half, David?
Well, if I say more of the same, with a different outcome with regards to who scores the goals. I mean, the one thing which I think we were all surprised by at the beginning was how West Ham were a lot higher. We were anticipating this kind of block. Once they lost possession, then they sort of drifted back into that position. But like Shaun said, I think West Ham will inevitably, as long as they're 1-0 up, start drawing back. But City will just keep creating chances, and Erling will say, hang on a minute, he's in a lot of fantasy teams, I need to score. I'm not sure if you think that.
Yes, that's what he's thinking. Yes. Oh, I wanted to ask you about tactically something that I was trying to get my head around in that first half. There was at points where I noticed that Guardiola was playing almost above or close to Rodri. Yeah. What tactically? What is he doing? Where is he playing today?
Well, that gives him the opportunity then to go and sit in alongside Rodri there to give another bounce person, and then allow Foden to go higher, let Silva to go higher as well. With them West Ham only playing one up front, and the quality of the City defence, you can have 2v1. Sometimes you could even go 1v1. But then, so your fullback then, when you've got the wide areas and the pace you've got in wide areas, you don't need two people out there. So the easy one is going to be an inside pass.
And then Alvarez was quite deep at a few points as well.
The rat.
Yes, he's everywhere.
Yeah, I say that in a fond way. I mean, the ball was being lost occasionally. He's running back in his own half to make tackles. Yeah, as I said about that fluidity, and I just want to touch on that point. There was a few times there where Kyle Walker's waving for the ball, both hands in the air and not getting it, and maybe that will be something that's put over to the team if he's open, give him the ball, because Paqueta dropped into that left position for a while and was kind of really making it difficult for him to get possession. But as the game went on, he was getting a lot more freedom, and I think that could be something that could be exploited.
There's a few runs that Phil Foden's been making across the back line in behind as well that hopefully will get highlighted as well.
I think Foden and Alvarez, when they're dropping deeper, they're not necessarily looking for the ball into their feet, but they're waiting to make that penetrating run, to break down the West Ham's defence, and the quality that you've got in wide areas in midfield, they can find that pass.
I just noticed a lovely question on the WhatsApp. Thank you for sending your questions in. Zua has asked, where do we think Guardiola's most natural position is, in that inverted left-back role or in a standard centre-back alongside Diaz?
Do we have a standard centre-back role in that team? Yeah. We do. That don't exist at City. It's like they just play where they need to play at that present time, depending on, like Jamal said at the beginning, how the game situation is.
What do you think, centre-back or inverted left-back?
I think you can play left-side centre-back, left-hand side of a 2-3, and left-back in a 4. I think you can play anywhere across the back 4. You can even play on the right-hand side. Not so much marauding forward and putting balls in with his right foot, but I think he's comfortably enough in possession at the ball that he can find a pass, and a forward pass at that.
Lovely, thank you. I just noticed the teams are coming back out, so we better halt our talk there. We see any changes? Noticing, is there anybody? Nope, doesn't look like any changes there, but of course Alistair Mann will let you know. So get your second half commentary now on the City app with Alistair Mann and with Michael Brown. Hey, we're only 1-0 down. We're used to this. Happens sometimes, doesn't it? No need to panic whatsoever. Give it 45 minutes. We'll be back here at full time, and hopefully we'll be talking about another wonderful Manchester City comeback. We'll see you then. Commentary now on the City app with Alistair Mann and Michael Brown.
Welcome back to the London Stadium. If you believe that statistics tell you a great deal about a football match, well, listen to these. In the first half today, this is the first half, City had 17 attempts, 7 on